Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope. They both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
On a sluster, slippery, big guns like Mark Fu, trap jumping like a kangaroo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast, where we chat with surfers from all around the world, from all walks of life, and we get their story. Find us at www.thequivercast.com. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. Hello, everybody. This is Mike here with the QuiverCast, and I have a surfing and jet ski legend. I got Randy Laine on the show today.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Randy. How you doing?
Good. Thank you.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this. I'm super excited.
Oh, this is my first podcast, so I'll probably choke.
This is all new to all of us. Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
You were telling me a funny story when we started talking, how your dad would hide your surfboard.
Yeah, my dad was a Marine, and I actually lived on the Marine base in Barstow and also in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. My dad would put me on house arrest, and he would take my drums and my surfboard and put them in the attic. And so I would have to hitch rides with my friends to the beach and use their boards, you know.
Really? Then let's go backwards even further. How did surfing get into your life?
All the way back to Virginia Beach.
Okay, that's the first spot you surfed.
Yep.
Got it.
69th Street, Virginia Beach. I had a canvas and rubber mat that we would blow up to about 100 pounds.
Okay.
And we'd make it so full of air that you could stand on it.
Really?
Yep.
And was it like you and your buddies, or who was doing this? Or you by yourself?
Well, there was the local legend, a guy named Buddy Matthews, who lived on, and he had a real surfboard, and I had a rubber mat.
Okay. How many other people were doing that?
There was a couple hardcore local guys. This was like in 1962.
Wow. So surfing was kind of just, well, I mean, it was kind of big in California at this point, right?
Yeah. But Virginia Beach was catching on. But the interesting place where they sold surfboards was at the hardware store. There wasn't a surf shop.
Yeah.
So it was like you go to Ace Hardware or something to buy a surfboard.
Wow. What kind of boards were they selling? Do you remember?
They had Dewey Weber,
Wow.
and eventually they had a Hobie shop, which a Hobie shop opened. Yeah.
Wow. And they were shipping those from the West Coast, bringing them back, driving them over or whatever?
Yep. Shipping them, and it took forever.
Wow. Okay, so how old are you at this point?
11.
Okay, so you're 11 years old.
Standing on a rubber mat.
Were you hooked? Or
Oh, yeah. I was getting pummeled in the shore break daily.
Okay.
But I finally spent $40 from I had 3 paper routes, a morning, an afternoon, and then New York Times on the Sunday. So I had 3 routes, and I had $40, so I bought a used pop-out, a piece of crap.
Okay.
And started surfing on that. It was so big that I couldn't get it under my arm. So to get it to the beach, I would put a towel on my head. I would walk up to the board and stand on my tiptoes and put my head against the board and then back away from the house.
Wow.
And I couldn't get to the beach if it was windy.
Yeah, because you'd be blown away, right? Wow. That's crazy. So your dad was a Marine.
Yep.
What did he think of surfing?
He thought it was for drug dealers and cult. You know, he wanted me to go to Virginia Military Institute and be in the Marines.
Okay. But you're 11.
Yeah.
You're 12.
But he's ready. Well, I'm going to VMI.
He's making that path for you.
Oh, already. He's got letters of certification.
Wow.
I'm going to a military boarding school.
Wow. Okay. You were completely opposite
Yes.
of him.
Yep.
Okay.
I was on swim team. That was the most disciplined thing I did. You know,
Okay.
we swim team practice every day, and I was water skiing. We were living in a place where I could water ski every day.
Okay.
So that actually was a gateway to me. I went tow surfing in 1967,
Wow.
behind a 14-foot aluminum boat.
Wow.
I was making skimboards, and I took a water ski. I took the aluminum fins off the water ski, put them on my skimboard, and then we towed into the surf in North Carolina at New River Inlet.
Wow. So you weren't just a surfer, you were like a waterman, basically.
Yeah, I love water. So I swam every day on team.
Okay.
But then we would water ski after school, and we would rent these 14-foot boats and do all kinds of crazy stuff, tow on skimboards.
Wow. Okay. In Virginia Beach, probably in the summer, it's smaller, right?
It's small all the time.
That opens up the door to go find new adventures.
Yep.
It's basically what you're doing.
Hatteras.
Okay, so you're traveling, but you're also skiing. You're also doing
anything water.
Well, you love the water.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. In fact, I was on the swim team. I was the youngest kid on the 8 and unders.
Wow. Okay.
I tried to get on the team when I was 4, but they wouldn't let me.
I'm fascinated with the dad being opposite of you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure he's a very nice man.
Well, I was probably a big disappointment. My grandfather, my uncle, and my dad were all Marines, and they all graduated from Virginia Military Institute.
Wow.
I didn't.
So at what point does he accept that you're different than him and
he doesn't accept it?
He never does.
No. In fact, I ran away from home when I was 17 because he came back from Vietnam and it was obvious there wasn't room for 2 type A personalities in the same house.
Yeah.
And one morning he surprised me. He had packed up all my stuff in the middle of the night, put it in the car, and he drove me to Bullis Military School.
Wow.
And I didn't want to go. I had a job as a lifeguard at Virginia Beach, and I'm surfing every day. So I lasted. I got myself kicked out on purpose. I brought fireworks. I smuggled them in. I blew the place up and left.
Could you do that today? Probably not. You'd probably be in jail.
No, then you go to jail now.
Yeah, a little different. Wow. Okay. How are you in surfing at this point?
I was progressing fairly quickly just because you surf every day, you get good if you do it every day. And I was on swim team. I had water ski experience, so it's all water all the time.
Okay. So at what point, I know you moved to the West Coast.
Yeah, I basically, the summer I graduated in 1969, I had just gone to a Jimi Hendrix concert in Virginia Beach.
Which I'm sure your dad loved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Sorry to beat that horse.
And I packed up my stuff one night and bought a one-way ticket and just left town, and I forgot to tell anybody.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you show up in Carlsbad.
Yep.
Did you know anybody?
I only knew a couple of kids because they were previous friends in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and because of Camp Pendleton, the Marine base, I knew kids here.
Okay. So other military families, basically kids.
Yeah, but I ended up buying a 59 Chevy station wagon and lived in it. I would park at the bluff at Swami's.
Okay, so you show up here, the waves are completely different than growing up at the beach breaks. I mean, Oceanside's probably similar to Virginia Beach, but when you're Swami's
surprisingly, Tamarack has a lot more power. And I think Tamarack is a mushy wave, But the West Coast definitely has more power just because it doesn't have a continental shelf.
Yes. You got your car you're living in.
Yep.
You're on Swami's. It's probably blowing your mind, this perfect point break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like it.
But you're a surfer.
Yep.
So is that how you eventually start making friends and making your way
everything here? Surf, all surf. You know, I just surf 3 times a day, every day.
Okay. So how does it progress that this becomes your home?
Because I can't afford to rent a place. So I'm not leaving.
Okay.
Surfing is what I want to do. California has better surf, so I'm here.
Okay. And how was that whole period of your life, the early surfing years?
It was difficult just because, I'm the new kid at Tamarack.
Okay.
And I surf different and talk different. And so, you got to work your way in. And I did some unusual things. I started surfing contests right away. Mm-hmm. And the WSA had the 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A, and the 4A were pros. So I wanted to work my way up, and I got up to 3A. And right when I started winning 3A contests, they ended the 4A division. And I was like, what?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you surfing any contests on the East Coast?
Yeah.
You're familiar with
a couple. I did in 68, I did a contest. It was the Wrightsville Beach Championships. I forget what they call it. The JCs sponsored it. I surfed in a contest called the WGH. It was a big contest. It was a radio station sponsored contest in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
And won that. So I thought, oh, well, I like this. I'll keep going.
Now, I've read this too, and you just said it. You surf differently than the guys on the West Coast or the guys in Carlsbad.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, I think part of it, that in the 60s, I got here in the summer of 69, surfing was a soul sport.
Mm-hmm.
The corporations had not started sponsoring pro surfers of any magnitude, and it was still kind of a cult sport in 69.
Underground kind of.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of soul surfing, and I came at it from a competitive edge. I wanted to go, get a lot of waves, do my best. Whoever the best guys in the water were, I copied their moves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Mike Purpose had a good cutback, I do that.
Yeah.
If somebody else has a good bottom turn, Barry Kanayapuni, I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I learn all that stuff, you know, just from watching. You memorize who's doing the best stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to be self-taught, but learn from the guys who were the best.
So you were giving your own self school, basically.
Yeah,
you know.
right. Self-schooling. But I was happy to give these guys credit. You know, they're ripping. Mickey Dora, Jay Riddle, whoever it was, Mike Purpose. I loved there's so many guys that I like. David Nuevo was one of my idols.
Okay.
And Donald Takayama.
Of course.
And what's crazy is I ended up surfing against all of them.
Yeah.
It was kind of scary, you know, because you idolize these guys for your whole life, and all of a sudden you're in a heat with them, and you're going, oh, shit.
How does that feel?
Yes, it's intimidating, but I knew the secret to winning was wave selection.
Okay.
Anyone can beat Kelly Slater if they get the best waves.
Of course, yeah.
Or, I mean, if you can surf okay. If you get the three best waves and the other guy doesn't, you win.
Yeah. But that's Kelly's secret, too.
Yeah.
He knows which ways to get.
That's right. No, Kelly is the man. He's definitely the GOAT. Yeah. I don't think anyone will ever repeat what he's done.
Ever. I've asked this question. Let's get off subject for a second. You answered it. Do you think there's no way
I don't think it's possible, because no one can be that healthy that long. In fact, Andy Irons, I think, was the only guy that interrupted his streak.
Yeah. I mean, he's lost it a couple other times, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, in my mind, Kelly Slater is greater than Tom Brady.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I just think surfing's not a middle America sport, so it'll never get the credit.
I've even towed Kelly on the North Shore.
All right, we'll go back to that in a little while. All right, let's stay on Randy. Early Randy. Okay, so you're taking the guys you really look up to surfing and copying them.
I'm trying to copy all their best moves, you know, because I figure if they're doing it the best I've ever seen, I have to learn to do it that way.
Okay. To be the best.
Yes.
Got it.
And then put all those maneuvers together in a flowing style.
Which would make you the best, because if you're taking the best maneuvers of certain guys
and put it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, because I had been a competitive swimmer, I liked competition. I liked the energy and all that. And that was what was unusual at Tamarack. Everybody was a soul surfer when I got there.
Yeah.
And so some of the guys were put off by my aggressive, you know, paddling and everything.
Right.
But then all of a sudden these young guys started popping up like David Barr and Joey Baran, and they were just energy, you know, just go, go, go.
So 69 on longboard still, correct?
No, I had transitioned already.
Oh, you already have?
I had a Rick 7.6.
Okay.
And I was using a Rick. It was a semi-gun, actually. And I picked a good year to show up in California with a gun.
Okay.
Because 69 was one of the biggest El Niños on record.
Yeah.
And so Swami's, there was days at Swami's where no one could get out. It was 15 to 20.
Wow.
It was nuts. I'd never seen anything like it.
Wow.
And that's how I met Ken Bradshaw, because he and Sheer Critchlow pretty much ran the outside break at Swami's.
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a Virginia surfer.
Yep.
And that's Ken Bradshaw from like Texas?
Yeah. They're running Swami's.
Is this before you moved to Hawaii and ran Hawaii?
Yeah. Ken was here he went Texas, Encinitas for years, and he was a Swami guy.
Okay.
And Sheer Critchlow, and then and a few other guys, but they were the main men at that time.
Wow.
And we even were there when Jerry Lopez came over and did the first side slip. We were mind blown.
Wow.
We'd never seen anyone go sideways.
Yes. Okay. So Swami's is huge all winter, right?
Oh, it was insane. In fact,
Are you making it out?
I got out because of my cardio from swimming, swim team.
Swami's, you're surfing Tamarack, you're surfing Oceanside probably.
And then I got into a routine. I actually got into a routine where I would surf Tamarack in the morning.
Okay.
And I would either go to Swami's if it was a northwest swell or west.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, I'd go to North Jetty. Okay. And back in the old days, there wasn't even a parking lot at North Jetty.
Yeah.
You had to walk like 500 yards down the beach to get to North Jetty. But I knew on a northwest wind, the lefts were protected. So I would do Tamarack in the morning, North Jetty in the evening, and Swami's if the swell was the right direction.
Okay. So actually, that's a good question. It's 1969, 1970, whatever. No surf line, none of that. I mean, you can see which way the swell's going, but was it wake up? Let's see how it is.
You had to wake up early. And so that was one benefit from living in a car. It's so cold, you wake up early.
I love that.
That's great.
You're waking up because you're freezing.
Yeah.
Okay. You turn the heater on or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to check the surf. And you can see which way the swell's coming.
Right. And so if it was northwest, I was blazing to Swami's.
Yeah.
Or I was already there from sleeping there.
Okay.
And then if it was a northwest wind, I was at North Jetty.
Okay.
And then Tamarack had a kelp bed. So it's just Tamarack needed, certain swells to be fun. Those were the three spots that I was doing the most. And then I did the Southside Jetties, which are at Tamarack. And that was kind of it. Once in a while I'd go to Seaside, but it was mainly Tamarack, North Jetty, Tamarack, North Jetty. Are
you exploring like La Jolla, like Blacks, any of those kind of places?
I went down there, but I could never catch the reefs at the right time.
Okay.
And La Jolla Shores was too weak. It's really a frail wave. I loved Blacks. But back then, the trail was just brutal.
I can
in
imagine.
60s and 70s. They didn't have really, there were trails, but they weren't the way they are now.
Of course, yeah. And nothing was, I'm sure. What about hiking in from like La Jolla Shores?
I actually did that. I walked from La Jolla Shores because it's a long, flat walk.
Yeah, at least you're on the sand.
But you can only do it at low or medium tide. I made the mistake one day of waiting until high tide to leave.
So did you have to paddle around?
Kind of, because you're getting pounded against the cliff.
Especially that's a big swell.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're exploring Southern California. Are you making friends? And secondly, are you having a job or are you just literally surfing?
Well, I finally got a job at the Hungry Hunter as a waiter so I could eat for free.
Perfect. And surfer's life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You work in a restaurant. You go in the late morning. You've already surfed. You go eat 10,000 calories, then work.
Yeah.
And then when you get off, you go straight to North Jetty.
All right. So now you also friends. Who are you hanging out with?
I'm making friends at Tamarack. It took a while because, some of the guys were really, used to their set guys. And I made friends and there were some super cool soul surfers. A guy named Louis Areola who accepted me. And there was a big guy named Donald Dominguez who ran the lineup at Tamarack. So
how is the crowd now versus then? Or vice versa. Whatever.
There's a lot more people now because they actually take the high school PE class there.
Yes.
So now it's insanity. And the sad thing is that there's a lack of respect. When I was here and when I was growing up, there was a pecking order in the water and you respected your elders or the guys who were the dominant surfers. And now it's like a free-for-all. Everybody's cutting each other off. So that's part of what drove me towards jet skiing. I wanted to get away from all the disrespectful activity.
Okay. My other question is 70s, that was a time of localism.
Yep.
And you're not a non-local.
Right.
You're trying to work your way into the local lineup. Was there any aggression ever towards you?
Oh, yeah.
Do you get fights?
There was a couple fights, but nothing. Probably the worst fights I got in were with Howleys in Hawaii.
Okay.
Not even, the Hawaiians are great. And I made a bunch of Samoan friends.
Okay.
And I even worked at Miracosta College on the grounds with all Samoan guys. And I was like their little mascot.
So this is before you go to Hawaii, though. How long did you live here until you finally started like really setting roots?
I felt like it only took a year because, if you're doing something every day, guys see you every day, and so you become a local. And especially if you can do it. One of my favorite
Competent.
sayings is, it ain't bragging if you can do it.
There you go. That's perfect. That's actually true. If you think about it.
Yeah.
So now we're in the mid 70s, and I know, and you're doing contests.
A lot of contests.
Pro division is
4A,
eliminated.
yeah, and there's so few 4A contests, it's really hard to get there.
Okay.
And guys like Dale Dobson and Donald Takayama, Mike Purpose, David Nueva, they were all 4A.
Yeah.
And I was 3A, so I'm trying to get to 4A.
Okay.
And I'm doing well in the contest. I'm getting the points. And right when I get enough points,
Yeah.
the WSA, I don't know what happened, if they were underfunded or what, but they just basically the 4A contest dissolved. And shortly after that, I don't know what year 4A dissolved, but I know in 76, 77, the IPS was going, which is the World Tour.
So that's my question. So I know you were an early surfer on the IPS.
Yes.
Okay.
I started in 76.
All right.
And my first contest, which was what I call a semi-pro, was an obscure cult contest.
Okay.
Body Glove sponsored a contest called the Encounter 2. It was back in the hippie days. Encounter 2 was at Steamer Lane, Santa Cruz.
Woo.
And it was excellent surf. But this particular contest was South Africa versus California or America.
Yes. Okay. So I've heard about these.
Yeah. And so the Springbok team, the national Springbok surfing team sponsored by South Africa, came over. Unfortunately, Sean Thompson, I don't know why he didn't make it, but his cousin Michael Thompson, Paul Nadi, all the top South African surfers in the country were here. And there was a handful of Americans. And it was at Steamer Lane, and I ended up winning it.
Wow, cool.
So that was kind of my I guess I had enough confidence in to get on the IPS tour.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's fascinating. So you beat all those guys, the Michael Thompson and all those guys. How'd you feel?
Pretty blown away because I didn't think it was possible.
Really? Okay.
But that's when I realized wave selection.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
How big was Steamers?
It was only, I would say the day of the finals, it was only head high.
Okay.
So it wasn't big Steamer Lane. But I almost got in a fight coming out of the water with a local.
Well, that makes sense.
I guess some local was flipping out over something, and he thought that I was the cause of it. So he wanted to fight on the rocks as I'm climbing up the cliff.
So actually, I have a question about that. Santa Cruz at this time, I'm assuming, was kind of a hippie town.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So let me ask you this question, I guess. Let me say it this way. It seems like there was a lot of aggression in the 70s.
Yes.
But it seems like they were almost contradicting themselves because they were supposed to be hippies.
It's 180 degrees. Yeah. On one side, you have the peaceniks and the hippies. And on the other side, you've got these aggro psychopaths.
Okay.
Who I don't know if they're taking LSD or what. But they definitely want to fight.
Do you think it had to do with drugs, maybe? Possibly?
It was hard to tell because the guy was so irrational. It was one of those deals where you can't even talk to the person.
Yeah.
They just want to fight somebody.
What about surfers? Were they hippies or were they not hippies?
Pretty much. I mean, I had real long hair myself.
Oh, okay. So you were kind of?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I had grown my hair down my back, basically.
But everyone did probably, right?
Yeah.
All right. Listen to Hendrix?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I saw Hendrix live, so.
All right. Wow.
And blew me away.
Wow.
His hands were, I'd never seen anyone play guitar where I couldn't see their fingers moving. That's how fast
where'd you see
he
him
was.
at?
This was actually at the Virginia Beach Dome. I saw him in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
It was right before Woodstock.
Oh, so like 68 something?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Wow. And did that change your life?
Yeah, because I knew, I was already playing drums in the school band, but after seeing Hendrix, I was like, I'm on this.
All right. You turned pro after you do pretty good in Steamers Lane. And how did you do at pro surfing?
It was a struggle. I think part of it was I didn't have the money or the sponsors. In fact, I turned down, it broke my heart. I got an invitation to the Duke at Sunset.
Wow.
Which is one of the most prestigious events, or was at that time.
What year? 76?
I want to say 75 or 76. I'll have to find the letter. It's in one of these.
Awesome. I'm glad you still have that.
Yeah.
That's rad.
I didn't have the money to fly to Hawaii.
Wow.
I got invited to the Duke and couldn't go because I didn't have enough money.
So were most surfers struggling to travel?
Yes. Yeah. If you won a contest in the 70s, you won $300.
Yeah. I mean, how much were flights?
4 or 5. I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, actually, there were some $200 flights.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned that because, well, I don't know if I want to go there.
Okay.
I did a magazine shoot to get the money to go to South Africa in 77. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Was it like a surf magazine?
No. The good news is Mike Purpose and some other guys did it. So
Yes. All right, we'll leave it at
But
that.
I needed a few thousand to get to South Africa,
Okay.
and I didn't have a sponsor to pay the bill, so I had to work.
I want to talk about that, but it's okay. All right. I forgot. I did read that today.
Oh,
I saw it online somewhere. They mentioned it. It's online. Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's not
I
a
know.
secret.
I forgot to tell my mom, too. She was pissed.
All right. So being a pro surfer was like,
It was expensive.
yeah. First off, you're just trying to survive. You're a young man.
Yeah. And that was my biggest problem is I had no money and no sponsors. I started getting some sponsors. Canyon,
Yes.
who Rusty had a brand called Music. He quit making music and he started shaping for
Canyon,
Canyon.
yes.
And so he made boards for me and Wes. And he was fabulous, obviously.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. But my sponsorship were pretty weak. And, because I was just coming out of the era where surfing is a hippie sport.
Yes.
And so companies like Ford and Chevy aren't looking to pay anyone millions of dollars
Right.
to go surfing.
Yeah.
They think that you're smoking drugs and not working.
Yeah. Yeah. This is before surfers were considered athletes.
Right.
And that's only been the last 10, 15 years, probably.
And now I see, surfers who just started a year ago in a Subaru ad.
Yeah.
So
What do you think about that?
I missed my mark.
I think, well, I mean, if you talk
I
to,
was 50 years too early.
yeah. Well, if you talk to PT, if you talk to any of these Rory Russells or I mean, several guys, even the Glenn Wintons and all these, even your brother probably didn't make what they're making today. Not even close.
Not close. But I was proud of Wes because he was so talented and so disciplined and smart that he was the first person I knew that was actually making a good living.
Good.
Surfing.
That was I had a question. This is one of my questions I had.
Quicksilver, Rip Curl, Oakley. He had real sponsors.
No, he had the stickers on the board. And he was a true athlete and he represented the sport in a good light.
Yeah, Wes was a great representative for all his sponsors, and he went out of his way to make sure that their logos were visible and that they got good press. Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, did you help him pave that path or did he do that on his own?
Well, I just provided, experience and a place to come and compete.
Yes.
Like what I would do is when Wes was in junior high and high school, I would have him come spend the summers with me.
Yeah.
And he would compete with guys like Joey Brand and David Barr when they were little kids, but they were good surfers.
Yes.
And so Wes had the advantage of surfing against West Coast guys, East Coast guys. And so he had to be good in small, grovelly, slow, weak surf. But then it was real easy for a big, tall, strong guy to be good in power surf.
In Hawaii. And one of the questions I asked your brother when I interviewed him was it hard? So I'm going to ask you, was it hard being a taller guy?
Yeah. When you're tall
Virginia
in
Beach.
surfing, especially on the East Coast, you're at a disadvantage because your height makes the wave look smaller. Your height makes you bog down. You need a lot of volume in your surfboard, and then your surfboards look bigger or different than the other guys.
Which makes your surfing look a little different.
Right.
Okay.
So, being tall was not an advantage, but Wes and Simon Anderson and a couple other guys showed people what's up with power.
Yes. In an era where there's Tom Carroll, who's not a tall guy, maybe,
Well, he's fabulous. I love Tom. To me, he was one of the best surfers ever at Pipeline. He showed guys what real power is.
Yeah. At what point you start making your way to Hawaii?
Finally, I actually went to Hawaii in 72. I went to Kauai for 3 months.
Okay.
And so I did spend time in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But I needed for my competitive, if you want to be a pro surfer, you got to be on Oahu.
Yes.
And I just didn't have the connections or the money to go every year. So that's why I was missing contests.
Wow. When you finally did make it over to the North Shore, what did you think of it?
It's the greatest place on earth.
Is it?
Yeah. to me, that 8 mile stretch, there's more good surf in that 8 mile stretch than in some foreign countries.
Yes, it's known for that.
Yep.
And the power and stuff of it. A kid from Virginia Beach and still a young man showing up in Hawaii in 72, right? You're still young. Completely different worlds.
Yeah. Well, the power and the speed, just the wave, the ground speed, the way, the speed, the
long periods,
the wave moves on to shore was amazing. You've really got to be in good shape. And the long paddles, a normal paddle in Hawaii is a quarter mile.
Yes.
In Virginia Beach, it's 10 feet.
Right. What was the first break you surfed on the North Shore of Oahu? Do you remember your first surf? How was it?
Sunset.
Wow. Okay.
And I got some beat downs.
Did you?
The reason why it was Sunset is I was staying with Randy Rarick, who ran the IPS.
Yep.
And so if I didn't have the right boards, I would borrow and break his boards.
Now, I think I read somewhere or something, you made your own leash.
Yeah. What happened was I think it was 70, could have been 71. I don't know the year. Okay. I went up to a Steamer Laine contest, and Pat O'Neill had just broken 2 boards in 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Because when you lose your board at Steamer Laine, it goes on the cliff.
Yeah.
And so he comes back with this suction cup. He sticks it on the nose of a board with a surgical tube rubber. And I saw that, and I go, I'm on it. Yeah. So I went to the hardware store and made one. I did something different. I took a dog leash and made a strap. The dog collar.
Did you go around your
yeah,
wrist?
And I put a piece of 3/8 nylon through the tube so it wouldn't break.
Yeah.
Those surgical tubing would stretch like 30 feet and come back and hit you in the face. Wow. I actually saw a guy get his fin through his cheek at South Jetty.
Okay.
So
I wanted it on your wrist.
Yeah, I had it on my wrist, and the cool thing is if you fell and did a layback, you could pull the board around and stand back up.
Oh, it was helping you.
Yeah, but it looked so dopey. I ended up putting it on my ankle, and I took a little piece of fin material and made a little knob on the back of the board and drilled a hole. Okay. And so I was the first guy at Honolulu Bay with a leash, and so the local guys weren't that happy to see me. Because the swim,
you turn around and go back out.
Well, see, that's how the crowd is moderated.
Yes.
Is when a guy falls off, he's got a 30-minute swim into the bay.
Yes. And
so I wasn't swimming for 30 minutes, and guys were seeing me a lot, and they didn't like it.
Okay. With that being said, just to be healthy wise, back in the 70s, you had to be able to swim.
Cardio.
You had to be
And see, I swam. One day I was at middle of the bay, almost 20 feet. I lost my board. Something happened and my board disappeared. Mm-hmm. I swam around for 20 minutes in middle of the bay, which is offshore. Yep. Then I swam all the way to the beach, walked up and down the beach, and finally I see my board out in the middle of Honolulu Bay. So then I have to swim a mile back out into the bay to get it. So, you got to have cardio and swimming skills.
Right. So you had that as a young child. You were
raised,
team. Yeah. To be like that. But what about Joe down the street that...
Well, there was plenty of guys that didn't have the cardio. So when they lost their board at Honolulu, they didn't come back out.
Right.
And same at Sunset.
Or they wouldn't even think about paddling out if they knew there's consequences.
There was a day where at Sunset where I had to paddle out 3 times to get one wave. I paddled out.
The board?
I got out, and the swell was coming up so fast. By the time I got out, it had picked up 5 feet. So I caught a wave and went in, got a bigger board. Okay. By the time I got out, it was even bigger. So I took a wave, came in, got a bigger board. So I paddled in 3 times to get longer boards just to be able to, be out at Sunset.
I have this question for you now. No surf line, no knowing there's a building swell, no nothing. It's
you got to get up early and go to the beach.
But you still don't know if Sunset's going to jump 5 feet in an hour.
Right. And it was happening it felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The swell was coming up so fast, I didn't even recognize it.
Yeah. You just see, something out there.
Seeing outside peaks and you're going, geez.
Do you think we're just spoiled nowadays?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, my whole life I surfed before there was WaveFax, so you had to be at the beach looking at it to know what the wind and the swell was doing. Right. And luckily, I knew Sean Collins before he started WaveFax. Yeah. And so I got
Is that before 976 surf?
I don't know. Sean, I believe, was the first. He was the first guy I knew.
Yeah.
He had to think of WaveFax, and you got to fax.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
On the fax line.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah. And then at some point, it evolved into Surfline and then cameras and all that stuff. And so now it's easy.
Yeah. What do you think about
Anyone
it?
can do it. Well, it makes the lineup way more crowded. I mean, look, everywhere you go, everyone can see the cameras at dawn, and they see the surf report 10 days ahead.
Yeah. You know what the wind's doing tomorrow.
So anyone can be there on a good day.
Yeah. Yeah. So completely,
in
40,
in the
50
old
years.
days, you had to be core.
Yeah.
You had to be there.
Yeah. You didn't know if it was going to be Santa Ana's or,
Right.
I mean, for the most part, maybe you could on the weather if you check the weather.
You could kind of guesstimate the weather, and you really do learn the weather. Like Wes is a monster weatherman. He probably knows more than the local weather guys.
Wow.
He can judge and estimate winds at all the local spots. Well, he knows what time the waves are going to get at a certain size.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you one example. He forecasted Hurricane Fabian like it was like a computer. He told me a week before.
Wow.
He said, fly to New York. I'll pick you up. We'll have a tow crew. We'll have a jet ski, Will Scudden's jet ski. I met him in New York City. I landed. We drove straight to Newport, Rhode Island. We surfed that evening, and the swell had just started showing up.
Yeah.
We got up in the morning, and it was just the most perfect, insane Newport, Rhode Island you've ever seen. And we actually, because thanks to Sid Abruzzi, a local guy, he told us about this secret ledge that everyone had been watching for 20 years and they'd never rode it.
You guys towed in it?
We got it.
Wow.
And
so you
we
guys
even
the first
had
ones to
Mark
ride it?
Healy with us. So
Really?
it was Wes, Will Scood, and Mark Healy.
Wow.
And we went out to this outside. It's an underwater ledge about a mile out, and you can see waves breaking, but it was a perfect right and left. Everyone thought it was just a left.
Yeah.
The rights were hollow, too. It was this big peak that comes, it would just suck up over this rock shelf and pitch out. And Healy was paddling it like, it looked like he was a pipeline. Yeah. He towed too, but Will Scudden and Healy got some serious beatdowns. This is a significant slab wave, but it breaks so infrequently. It takes a hurricane swell, basically.
Yeah. Wow. You're going to Hawaii now. You're traveling back and forth. You're getting a little older. Are you getting sponsors?
I'm getting some sponsors, and I got invited to the first Stubbies in '77. Surfed in it. I made it all the way through the trials.
Oh, excellent.
But I drew Rabbit, who was world champion. And it gets worse. It's perfect burly heads. Everyone's surfing great.
And he's local
I'm
guy.
surfing good.
Yeah.
Well, on my third wave, I broke my board in half. So I've got Rabbit and I break my board. So I crawl over the rocks. Some kid hands me a board. I don't even know whose board it was. I went back out and finished the heat, but lost.
Yeah.
But I ended up surfing the Allen Oak, the Rip Curl, maybe the Coke. I can't even remember in '77.
Okay.
But that was the first Stubbies, and it was an amazing contest. The surf was incredible, perfect burly heads, barrels peeling. Sean and Mark Richards were the standouts, and they didn't win, but they were surfing so good. It was just mind-boggling.
Very new sport. It's not even, it's literally a new sport, this pro surfing.
Yeah. It's, now surfing has come of age. There's money in it. There's guys traveling from other countries. Randy Rarick is running the IPS. Yeah. Fred Hemmings had helped, organize it. And then, I don't know, he stepped away. But Randy was the man. Here we are on the world tour, IPS.
You're just kind of figuring out. Everything's getting figured out. It's all new.
I don't know the mechanics of any of these breaks. It's my first time there.
How are you showing up at these places around the world? Like finding a place to stay, food?
Well, luckily, and I didn't know this ahead of time, one of my friends from Oceanside had moved to Surfer's Paradise. He lived right by Burley Head.
Sweet.
A guy named Bruce Beatty. Okay. And check this out. He makes surfboards.
Oh.
So I got over there and my boards were all wrong. So Bruce makes me some local shaped boards that work at Burley. Yeah. And then I go ahead and break them.
That's what friends are for.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool. You've had a network of friends that are
around. A lot of my friends have gone to other places. So I do have friends in Hawaii, in Australia, on the East Coast. So there were parts of the tour where I had a little bit of a hookup, you know? And so I could go over there without a lot of money or without big sponsors and compete.
Okay.
And I made the one, I guess, thing I was proud of is I made every main event my first year. So I made the main event
That's
at
impressive.
Burley Heads, Stubbies, at the Allen Oak. I made at the Bells Beach, and I think at the Coke. I can't remember now. I'm making it through the trials,
which is that?
But I'm
what's your
drawing
goal?
the highest seed because I'm the lowest guy from the trials.
What was your goal at this point? Did you have goals?
I just wanted to be on the pro tour.
Okay, all right.
That was
you just
it.
wanted to surf.
And somebody forgot to tell me that you can't be a billionaire if you're a pro surfer. And that never occurred to me. I wanted to pro surf so bad, it didn't occur to me that these guys aren't billionaires.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that makes it more love,
right? Well, it's pure love for sure. Yeah. I mean, this is a passion, and you love surfing so much you'll do anything.
Yeah. How about the other guys? Were they making? Were the PTs? Were the Rabbits? Were the Sean's making money?
I was surfing against PT. It was the Bronze Aussies surfing against Ian.
Were they making more money or?
Well, yeah, they had real sponsors because Australia actually is more sophisticated than America in that when it comes to water sports.
Yeah.
And the reason why is it's a country the same size as the U.S., but everyone lives on the coast.
Right.
And so the country of Australia has national pride in all water sports, in lifeguarding, lifeguard competitions, surfing, kiteboarding, anything in the water the country has pride in. And so the Australian surfers were much more hailed as legitimate athletes and heroes.
Yeah. And you guys are just,
Yeah, we're surf bums and smoke weed and don't work.
You do the tour for a little while, and then what do you decide to do?
Then I decided, you know what, I've gotten started too late. So
how old are you at this point?
I don't even know how old I was in 77, but I was too old to be a touring pro.
Yeah.
I could have gone another 2 years, but I decided not to, and I kind of got behind Wes. I helped him. I would go to all the events I could that Wes was at, and I would just be the coach or, support. And I would actually point out waves. He probably got aggravated at me, but I would give him wave signals from the beach when sets were coming. Like he would have hard heats at Huntington, like at the OP Pro. He'd draw Sean Thompson in his first heat. So I'd be up on the pier spotting.
So that's actually, I didn't know that. It sounds like you were one of the very first surf coaches. Now everyone has a coach.
I definitely was coaching him in the early days for sure.
Wow. Was anybody else doing that?
I was living vicariously through him.
Of course, yeah.
I wanted to be a pro surfer, but there wasn't any money in it. And
so the next best thing's your brother.
He's in the decade or the generation where they're getting paid.
Yeah, and he's your brother, so I mean that's rad.
Yeah. So it was great.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. In fact, I'll go on record saying that he won the Bell speech when they gave it to Nicky Wood.
Really?
Yeah.
You think
he
got
won it
robbed?
for sure, because I've judged contests for years.
Okay.
And he won, but it's Nicky Wood was the youngest surf star,
and that was the first big
and Rip
contest.
Curl was his sponsor. It's a Rip Curl Bell's Beach.
Okay.
Ian's judging.
So let's go on a footnote.
I'll
totally
get
believe
death
you
threats from this interview.
No, who cares? I'm gonna believe you because they didn't have they didn't have the footage like they do today, right?
Right. There's no playback. And there weren't necessarily enforcing the one judge from every country. So in other words, you have 5 Australian judges. Yeah. Or you could, even if you had 3, or you could be in Brazil and there's 3 or 4 Brazil judges.
They're going to pick their guy.
It's very difficult if it's close not to go with your guy.
Yeah. So someone told me, and I can't remember who, said, you see some of the judges are the local guys and they're seeing this guy surf every day. So they know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
But he might have a bad heat, but they're still going to push him through.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I've seen it happen because I've seen it from the judging side. I judged Joey Baran's circuit, the PSA.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting up there and I'm watching what's going on in the water. And I can see what the judges are doing if they're looking at bikinis or missing waves. And so I got to the point where I got frustrated and I started calling colors. When a guy stood up on a wave, I'd say red up.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure the other judges are seeing what's going on and they're not missing waves.
Wow.
Because I just have this, it's a drive. I want it to be fair.
Yeah.
And I had seen some bad calls before.
Of course, I'm sure.
And I didn't like it. That was that was probably the part about pro surfing I didn't like, is the human error part.
That's never going to go away, though,
Yeah,
right?
it won't go away. It can't go away.
Yeah.
See, I like sports where that's where jet skiing, you cross the finish line first. It's easy to see who was there first.
It's black and white.
So there's no bias.
Yeah.
And so I had a hard time with the judging when it wasn't consistent.
So then now let's go into jet ski. At what point do you jump on the jet ski? Are you still surfing?
Well, here's the crazy thing. I was doing 3 sports at the same time.
What are those 3 sports? We got jet ski, surfing, and
motocross.
Wow. Okay.
I was racing motocross in the 70s at Carlsbad Raceway and Corona.
Okay.
So
as an amateur or as a pro?
Amateur, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd surf in the morning and I'd motocross midday or water ski midday, and then surf again. So we were water skiing, surfing, and motocrossing every day.
So where'd you get the energy for that?
I don't know. I wish I had it now.
Yeah, no shit.
It was unbelievable.
Wow.
But you have no body fat.
Yeah. I can imagine. Okay, and what about working at this time too?
Well, I was working at night.
So you're just squeezing it all in.
Yeah. So I'm squeezing in 3 sessions a day.
Wow.
A lot of times it would be surf, water ski, and then motocross, or surf, motocross, surf again.
Yeah. And probably weather dictated what you're doing too.
But in the early 80s, I don't know when my first jet ski race was, but I know in the early 80s, 80, 81, 82, I was competing on the weekends in jet ski races if there wasn't a surf contest.
Okay. So what got you into jet ski? Was it just another water sport for you to try and you loved it?
No, I accidentally stumbled on them right here at the Carlsbad Lagoon, Hedionda. The guy who invented them, Clayton Jacobson, sold the patents to Kawasaki, which is in Irvine, their headquarters. And Kawasaki happened to have thousands of motors sitting around, and they needed a project to put it in. And so they bought the 10-year patent from Clayton Jacobson. And so I saw the guys testing because I was water skiing.
Yeah.
I was seeing the guys testing jet skis secretly here on the Carlsbad Lagoon in the early 70s. And so I said, that's going to change my life, because I knew it was small like a surfboard, but it had power.
Yeah.
And I knew somehow in my mind that it was going to affect my life, and it did. It went from a hobby to a sport to a living.
Wow.
Because I started doing commercials and contests and races, exhibitions. I put together a group of guys called the Wavebusters, and we were doing shows like San Clemente Ocean Festival, Pier Fest, Oceanside, the OP Pro, US Open. So we would get paid to do shows.
Wow.
And it was cool because Wes would be surfing in the pro division, and I'd be doing the jet ski demo.
That's rad. So you guys are hanging out still?
Oh, yeah. We're still hanging out doing the same thing, but I'm just on a different machine.
Yeah. Are you still coaching them in between?
Well, I was, yeah. Because the jet ski event was near the end, so I could be on the pier spotting him during all his heats.
Cool. Did you think that brought you guys closer?
As
brothers?
Yeah, we were best friends and brothers. You know, it was definitely a very strong bond.
Now, real quick, let's go way backwards. Your dad didn't like surfing. How did he feel when finally Wes a little younger?
He kind of had to accept it because he put Wes in sailing school, so that's kind of a water sport. And then my dad took up windsurfing, and I think that's after I had already moved out of the house. Once my dad became a windsurfer, all of a sudden the light went on. Hey, this is legit.
Yeah.
And he started reading magazines and seeing pictures of Jaws with windsurfers going on them. And he was like, holy crap.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So he just changed.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But it was too late for me. I'd already pissed him off.
Oh, that's funny. You guys are the elite team for jet skis, correct?
Well, we're the only team, so I guess we were elite. No one else was doing it. Herbie Fletcher had started jet skiing in the 70s, and he kept his ski at Beach Road up in Capo.
Right.
And so he also had a ski in Hawaii because
you would see them.
In the early 80s, like I think from 79 on, I started going to Hawaii every year.
Yeah.
So I left a stand-up ski over there.
Okay.
Herbie and Squiddy, who was one of the guys in the Hui, and a guy named Frank Ramos. We were all jet skiing, but Brian Surratt was a local guy who was a surfer jet skier.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think who else. Ron Condon, the filmmaker, had a jet ski. So the North Shore, what I did is I stayed away from everybody. I went third reef. So I would go third reef pipe, Phantoms, Avalanche. Wow. I would ride all the outside brakes. But it was crazy. Flippy Hoffman, I don't know how old he was, but he was riding by himself at Avalanche on a stand-up.
Like stand-up what?
A stand-up jet ski.
Jet ski, I gotcha. Okay.
But it was insane because if you break down at Avalanche,
Well, that was my question.
no one there to rescue.
If you're by yourself and you're a third reef pipe,
Well, see, the sit-down skis hadn't even been invented yet, so there's no one out
everyone's
there
standing up.
on third reef to rescue you.
is that ruining the waves on the inside for the guys that are surfing?
No, we're so far out.
Okay, you're way out.
Even when I rode pipe, I did something pretty controversial, but no one said anything. I jet skied pipe backdoor during the Pipe Masters.
Why? How?
Well, I didn't bother anybody. Here's what was happening. It was huge pipe,
Yeah.
and everyone is going left, right?
Yeah.
It's the Pipe Masters.
Yes, correct.
Well, there was plenty of room over here, so I took
Backdoor?
off in the same peak, and I went right, and I would go backdoor into off the wall. So I'm riding these giant cylinders on a stand-up, and Herbie and Flippy were tripping out because,
Yeah.
I was getting all these waves because I don't have to paddle out. I race back out. So, yeah, I rode pipe during the Pipe Masters and didn't interfere with anyone.
Okay. So this is a surf podcast, so probably most people listening to this surf.
Yep.
Describe the feeling of surfing on a wave on a jet ski. It's got to be different,
Terrifying.
right? Is it terrifying?
It's a lot scarier.
Why?
Because a jet ski doesn't have a fin.
So
You're not connected to the water. It's a jet pump vacuuming water. And it's a lot harder and heavier than a surfboard.
Yeah.
So when it hits you, you get knocked out. I've gotten free dental work and 15 broken bones.
wow.
And
But you kept getting up and
torn
doing it?
Achilles tendons. Thank you.
So, okay, is it adrenaline rush? What kept you
my
getting
God.
back up and doing it again?
The adrenaline
and again,
rush
and again?
is terrifying. I actually got swatted at pipe so hard that I was drowning with a life vest on.
Really?
Yeah. The lip hit me in the head and it took me down. It felt like, like 1,000 tons of water had just snapped me to the bottom instantly. It happened so quick. I didn't even know what happened. My ski shot out. It sank. I had to have a couple locals help me swim out and get it and drag it to the beach and get the water out. But, I rode pipe for years before there were no laws against it. Mm-hmm. And so what I would do is I'd take the waves that nobody else wanted. Yeah. Like if a rogue set came and I could see no one was getting it, and I'd go right if they went left. Like if somebody dropped in, I'd go the other way. So I never interfered. I stayed out everybody's way because I'm a surfer. I don't want to piss anyone off.
You understood.
Plus the hui is there.
Yes. So they never said nothing.
Nope.
They're all cool with you.
No, I've launched at every beach, rock pile, backyards, everywhere, in front of all the locals.
Were you friends with these guys too? Also,
yeah, I knew a lot of them.
Yeah,
so
that helped. I'm sure.
And I actually used to help Squiddy. He was one of the hui enforcers, and he had a jet ski. And I used to bring motors from California. I would bring new jet ski motors over to Squiddy. Okay, and so he kind of helped pave the way. But Wes was sponsored by Quicksilver. Yeah. So at that time, it was before DeHuey had started. Mm-hmm. So Quicksilver was making all the board shorts for the black shorts or the Hui. Yeah. And so because of that, most of the Quicksilver athletes had
protection,
some protection. And I'm with Wes.
Yeah. So another question is, you're jet skiing pipe, you're jet skiing way out Phantoms and where all these places. Yeah. Are you also picking up a board and surfing then, or are you surfing less and less?
I was starting to surf less, because I was getting so many waves on my ski. Yeah. I still have my quiver and I still surf, but I'm getting less. What happens is when you can catch 100 waves in an hour and do 30 aerials. Yeah. And then I can come in and spend an hour at Tamarack and I'll be lucky if I get 10 waves. Right. And then there's guys breaking into my car. Yeah. So I'm thinking, which one, Yeah. And so I had to make a choice. And so I kind of slowly graduated from shortboard back to longboard. I went from longboard to shortboard, back to longboard. And then I started, because I was racing jet skis on the weekends, I started jet skiing in the surf. And I actually pioneered a category called free ride. Like prior to me, there were no actual free riders in jet ski. It was just racing. Yeah. And because they were testing here, what happened was Jet Pilot was a wetsuit company that made jet ski stuff, and they were the first ones to use the term or name free ride or category. Okay. And so I was their first free rider. So I was still a surfer, but I was free riding on a stand-up ski.
Okay. And let's go back to Herbie Fletcher. Are you guys buddies?
We've been friends. We've known each other for many years, but we're friends and competitors.
That was my question. Yeah.
And I think part of it was I didn't have any money. I'm just out there winging it myself. And Herbie had a house at Pipe, a film crew.
Is this the point
a company, Astrodeck?
I was going to say,
So I loved jet skiing with him, you know, because he was super good wave knowledge. He's a fabulous surfer.
Yeah.
And we would actually ride waves together at Backdoor, huge waves.
Yeah.
But I did notice that in his films that had jet skis, I wouldn't be in them very much.
Yeah. He would put himself in all the Wave Warrior movies.
Well, that's okay.
And that's cool.
It's his company. Yeah. It's his film crew. And but I just loved jet skiing with him because there was a wave at Pipe or Backdoor or Sunset is big enough for two jet skis to fit in the barrel side by side. Because the stand-up skis are small. Yeah. And in Blue Highway or one of his movies, I think you can see both of us on a couple of waves together. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's gnarly. If somebody makes a mistake,
it
it's going to be fatalities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, I've gotten free dental work.
Well, okay. With that being said, and let's go back to you're doing the expeditions for US Open. And OP Pro back in the day, and maybe really early on.
Super fun.
How did you know this was safe? You're doing it in front of thousands of people.
It's not safe. It's
shit
totally
can go
unsafe.
wrong, right?
Oh yeah. I got hurt in exhibitions, but that's part of the fun. You just accept the risk and the pain.
So what about insurance for these companies that are having you go and do this?
I never filed a claim.
I'm not.
In fact, I broke one of my front teeth at Bells Beach doing a jet ski exhibition at Bells.
I guess the insurance part, is I'm surprised they let you do it.
Me too. Now they won't.
Different day.
If it's fun
now.
or dangerous, you can't do it now.
Okay, there you go.
That's why I like Australia. They don't put up with the bullshit. Okay. Where telling guys you can't do this or that.
Less regulated?
Yeah. They want to see people have fun and do dangerous things.
As long as you're not endangering someone else. Or
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because the Ocean Festival at San Clemente was the one stickler. We did the Ocean Fest every year.
Yeah.
It was one of the more exciting things. They had dory races, which I love because the dories would end up going through the pier and stuff.
Yeah.
But they always made us get these really expensive liability. One year I did do something wacky. I jumped a little too high, and on the landing, my foot drove through the tray of the jet ski, and my heel got stuck down in the fiberglass.
Yes.
And so I had to carefully ride up and slide up on the beach, and they had to take tools and pry the fiberglass to get my heel out.
Oh, that hurt?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're just around your ankle, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Or thigh or something.
And see, you've got a ball on your heel, right?
Yeah.
And so the fiberglass is right around my Achilles tendon. Jeez. So I can't pull the ball of my heel out of the fiberglass.
Wow. So shit has happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I guess in the 80s is a little different than now.
Yeah, you're allowed to break bones in public.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because I remember seeing you at the OP Pro, and it's like, you guys just zooming through waves.
We were launching,
Yeah. Insane.
And there was some abuse.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Well, there was a couple times where I landed flat and I hit so hard,
flat water.
Your tailbone would hit the ski, and you'd bounce back up in the air and do a second aerial from the hitting so hard. You'd actually do an aerial.
How much practice were you doing before these shows, or was it all just winging it at the show?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's show up Sunday. And do this?
OP would say, "We want a race," and I go, "Okay."
That's great. That's great.
And we would have a race, and guys would be sinking. There was guys that sank their skis in the shore break at the start, so they didn't even get to race.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. Right on. You're getting further and further and better at jet skiing?
Yeah. And people are starting to notice. And
who are people?
Well, finally, Kawasaki and Yamaha.
Okay.
They begrudgingly, they only wanted to sponsor sanctioned events, sponsor riders who are racing and winning races. And I was kept doing all these jet ski events. And finally, Kawasaki sponsored us for some of our jet ski exhibitions. Okay. I think they partnered with Dodge or some car maker, and they did a bunch of dealerships. They went up the coast, and we did Ventura, Santa Cruz.
Wow.
Redondo Beach. And it was funny, too, because we would get to these beaches like Redondo, and the local lifeguards didn't want to let us in the water. They go, we don't allow jet skis here.
Yeah.
And I go, well, we were getting paid, and there's a permit.
That's interesting.
Well, I guess there had been jet skis around because a lot of these breaks are at harbors, so they've seen jet skis.
Yes.
And so they see the
weekenders
tourist
and,
renting them.
Right.
And I've seen some,
being an idiot.
I've seen some insane, like Newport Beach. Yeah. The rental guys will come out of the harbor and they'll turn right and they'll go into the wedge on a 20-foot day.
That one guy did a couple years ago.
Yeah, and the jet ski's up on the rocks on a 20-foot day.
It was like plus 20.
Yeah.
And he had like... The guy should have died. Yes. Remember that one a couple years ago?
Oh, yeah.
So gnarly.
But I've made a number of rescues. Like one of my gnarliest ones was at Waimea, probably in early 80s. I was riding Waimea on the stand-up because there was only a few guys out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I see this giant left, across the bay.
Okay.
And I see a little head bobbing, and I go, oh, shit. This guy's drowning over by the left. He's going to get pitched on the rocks. On a massive. So I raced over there and I learned the guy doesn't speak English. He's a Brazil surfer. He lost his board and the lifeguards are refusing. I'm waving them and they're refusing to come out because the shore break is so big.
Oh my God.
They don't think they can get him because they'd have to go to that corner, then swim all the way across the bay to the left. And they figured they couldn't get him in time.
Yeah.
So I was he was speaking Portuguese and I'm trying to get him on my back. And I ended up dragging him all the way across the bay and got him to safety.
Wow.
But I did a rescue at North Jetty, and this girl was fighting me the whole time. She was drowning and getting slammed on the rocks, and I found out why later. I dragged her out into the middle of the harbor, and the harbor patrol put her in the boat. And they go, yeah, this is our third rescue this week of her. She'd been committing suicide. She jumped off the pier and jumped off everything. And so I saved her against her will.
Wow. Okay, so now in today's world of surfing, big wave surfing, WSL surfing, and so forth, they have the jet ski, the Sea-Doo out there.
Now it's
not towing so much, but just for protection of surfers.
Well, rescue. They're using them as shuttle. Rabbit even asked me in the 80s. He goes, "Yeah, we think the ASP should be using a shuttle for point breaks.
Yeah.
Like Jeffreys Bay. That's a long ass paddle.
I would say that it makes surfing more entertaining,
and
for sure.
Ask Mick about his shark encounter at Jeffreys.
Yeah.
So you definitely need the jet ski, and I saw that in the 70s. I saw that it was the future of surfing. And guys have been anti-jet ski because they're motors, but the new jet skis are clean burning. They have a catalytic converter. They're quiet. There's no smoke.
Yeah,
they're eco-friendly. And if you look at how many people have been saved. Ask Brian Kailana about how many rescues he's made.
I can imagine. So
Brian has saved so many people, he probably doesn't even know how many.
They never looked at you and talked to you about, hey, let's do something here?
I don't think it occurred because I wasn't a lifeguard.
Okay, so like certified.
Even though I was doing it before the lifeguards.
Yes.
I mean, I was actually past my prime by the time they invented the sit-down.
Okay.
87 was the year that Yamaha released the Wave Runner.
Right.
And sometime after that was when the lifeguard, group started getting them and learning how to use them.
Did you help at all in that process, or were you
I was
doing
helping
your own thing?
From a durability standpoint. I actually was an independent contractor for everyone. I worked with Sea-Doo, Kawasaki, Polaris, Yamaha, and I helped them with their durability testing and all that kind of stuff. They would just hire guys to do testing. And some of them got mad because, Kawasaki had a product. They only had 2 of them. They shipped one to America, and I broke it in the first 30 minutes. So the Japanese engineers were not happy that I could break the hull in half so quickly.
That's their fault.
Yeah, I know. And then another dumb thing I did in Saipan is I went out and I was hot dogging on one of the new skis. They were doing a photo session.
Yeah.
And it was Kawasaki, Japan. So they chose Saipan as the island. And I went towards the beach and I was going to spray the director. He was near the water.
Yeah.
And when I went to turn, I went straight up the beach about 50 miles an hour and almost killed everybody.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. What had happened is I didn't know it, but it was a brand new ski and the steering cable had fallen off where it attaches.
Yeah.
So they thought I was trying to kill them on purpose.
Yeah.
So they were pissed. But the ski ended up in the jungle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Do you think in all your life of being on pipe, big waves on the jet ski, is it a false security that you're on a jet ski, or is it, how do you approach it?
Well, I'm extra careful.
Okay.
And the reason why is I've broken molars jet skiing.
Yeah.
A molar's a big tooth.
That is
Yeah.
that must have hurt.
Yeah. So I'm real careful, but I've actually gotten, one of my favorite things is barrel riding. I mean, pipe,
Yeah.
oceanside on a good big swell.
Yeah.
I mean, Todos. You know, I started taking my skis to Todos in the 70s, and I would ride in Rob Brown's wake. I'd ride my stand-up in his boat wake, so I had smooth water for 10 miles out to the island.
Yeah.
And then later on, after the sit-downs were invented, I would tow my stand-up. I would take my runabout. I'd put my stand-up ski on the sled, tow my little ski out there, anchor, and I'd ride the stand-up in big surf.
Okay.
And then I had the sit-down for rescues and for going back.
Like to get
And
in
you can
a
bring
stickier
gas
situation.
lunch. Yeah.
What's the difference between, I mean, the sit down is a little more sturdy.
Well, it's a big, wide, stable, heavy ski. So it obviously, it's longer and wider, so it won't fit in the barrel unless it's really big.
It's not as versatile as,
it's
more like a
like
boat,
it's like driving a 75 Cadillac against a Porsche.
Right. Okay.
In a race, you know, the Porsche can out-handle it.
Yes, of course.
And so the stand-up ski, you know, you can pull in barrels and sit there as long as you want. You just got to have lightning reflexes.
Okay.
Because if you make a mistake, your teeth are coming out.
Do you think that it's safe?
Well, it's not safe.
It's not safe. Okay.
We wouldn't do it if it was safe.
Going back to, you said Redondo Beach, and you said the lifeguard said jet skis aren't allowed. Yeah. But now every lifeguard probably has one.
Right.
I was watching that swell last month. Yeah. And I was watching La Jolla Cove.
Cove. Yeah.
And it was big.
Yeah. Good
It was
wave.
good. I didn't surf, but
that's a really good wave.
It actually looked good, doable.
I've actually surfed La Jolla on my stand-up jet ski when the lifeguards were code red, don't do it.
Yeah.
And there's no one out, so I kept riding.
Yeah.
And what I had to do is I didn't want to get a ticket, so I flew, after my last wave, I flew into La Jolla Shores, and I hit the beach, and I slid about 100 yards up the beach. I put the ski on my trailer and peeled out before they could get there to give me a ticket.
Yeah. But the guy, basically, my story is the lifeguards there protecting those guys that are out there. Some of them shouldn't have been out there.
Right.
Straight out. Should not have been out surfing there.
For sure.
And he's sitting inside and he's gunning it. And he's having
Well, it's the same at Mavericks. And at Mavericks, I did water safety, a couple of Quicksilver events. Well, it's in
the 90s, they kind of flipped.
They're illegal, but the local Pillar Point Harbor Patrol allow jet skis out there.
Okay.
And the reason why is they want the jet ski guys to do the rescues and policing instead of the lifeguards on the boats, because it's costing money and it's dangerous and expensive. Yeah. So they kind of look the other way at Mavericks. I've ridden Nell Scott Reef in Oregon and the Columbia River. It's insane. I love Nell Scott. I think it's one of the most underrated waves on the West Coast.
And cold.
It's very cold, but it's less rules. It's kind of like Cortez. You could pretty much launch from the beach and do what you want.
Yeah.
But that's why I like Cortez. There's no rules. You're 100 miles offshore, and the wave size is unlimited.
So you were one of the first guys ever out there.
Yeah, I went on the first trip with Gary Clisby.
Okay, cool.
And Rob Brown, Aaron Chang, the whole crew. It was Mike Parsons and Gerlach were a team, Skin Dog and Peter Mell. There is something on that trip that no one has ever mentioned, and I'm going to mention it.
Okay.
No one rode the Rogue sets. You know, nowadays guys are going to Nazare and they're all battling over the 80 to 100 foot, whatever.
Yeah.
Guys were not taking the biggest sets on the first Cortez trip. Snips got fantastic. Everyone surfed great. In fact, Gerlach was outstanding. He was pulling in giant barrels.
Wow.
It was scary. Snips, Mike Parsons was tearing it. Skin Dog, Peter Mell was unbelievable. But every time a Rogue set would come at Cortez, I'd start screaming because I had Aaron Chang on the back, and I'm pointing and yelling, "Go, go, go!" And no one was going, and I was like pissed because I wanted to have the freedom to go get the wave, but I actually saw a wave that I didn't even want.
Really?
Yeah. It was the biggest wave I've ever seen. I was thinking it was an 80-foot face. It was just ridiculous.
You did catch waves out there on your ski, right?
Yeah, on a jet ski, it's dangerous. Like I actually got caught from behind at Cortez on that first trip.
So actually, let me ask you a question. I meant to ask you this off record, but I'm going to ask you on the record. Have you looked at your Wikipedia page ever?
Not in a long time.
Okay. So
what is
it says on there you hold the world record for the biggest wave on ski.
On a stand-up, probably, yeah, because not very many people ride stand-ups in big surf.
Okay. So it says you have the world's record, 70 foot or something.
Nice.
So you need to look at it because sometimes
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you need to check that out.
Check it.
So that's what it says.
Well, there was definitely, I've ridden my stand-up at Todos a lot, Cortez 3 times, Nell Scott. I've only ridden a runabout at Mavericks, but I did something. I pissed off. Well, they weren't mad, but Water Patrol guys were telling me to knock it off. What happened is one of the Mavericks contests, I was going left on all the sets on a jet ski, because Mavericks is a right.
Yeah, but there's a left there too.
The left is hollower and shorter, but I was getting a lot of lefts, and finally the Water Patrol told me, okay, no mas.
So back to Cortez.
Yep.
Was there, okay, let's just talk from your perspective of life. Is there fear when you're going out into something to the unknown? Literally?
Yeah, for sure there is. In fact, the waves were so big, we could see them on radar.
Yes.
As we're pulling up to the reef and it's dark outside, it's probably 4 or 5 in the morning. I don't know what time we got there. We would always leave the night before.
Right.
Because it's about a 10 or 12 hour cruise.
Are you leaving in Sonata or San Diego?
We were leaving out of San Diego.
Okay.
At the harbor. and so we'd leave the night before and just pray that it was going to be good the next morning. And it was. But you get there, and even on the radar, you could see these swells, and it was pretty terrifying, actually, because there's no one out there. I actually made 2 rescues. I'm going to call them shuttles, but Evan Slater and the boat captain, John Walla, both paddled massive Cortez on the first trip, massive. And they both got caught paddling by Rogue Set, just got ground up, and their boards and them the playing field was so big. I had Aaron Chang on the back and we're filming, but I can't remember if I got him, if he was still on the ski or what, but I gave Evan a ride back. We found his board, and I picked up John Walla and took him back because it's just, it's sharky out there.
Like that would be the least of my concerns, honestly. I mean, I'm sure it is sharky out there, but the waves.
It's insane.
So
I was telling guys to go left. There was a good left on the first trip. There was a gigantic left at Cortez, and I was like, what the hell?
Did anybody try?
I didn't see anyone go left.
Okay. What's the demeanor on the boat on the way in the morning? Is everyone just kind of sleeping? Is everyone in there?
Well, they're quiet, but the guys are getting up early, and they're, they're pretty solemn. There's a lot of excitement, but there's also, it's solemn because one of the most dangerous parts of the trip is getting the jet ski off the boat. Think about this. You're on a 45-foot boat.
Yeah.
It's rocking end to end, back and forth, and sideways. You've got a davit crane, and you're picking up an 800 or 900-pound jet ski.
Yeah.
And the motion of the boat is swinging the jet ski like a pinball.
Yeah.
Like it's swinging back and forth. It can kill people. Yeah. And so you've got to lift it up, get it over the rail, and lower it successfully. And we would lower it, and it wouldn't come off, lower it, wouldn't come off. So that part alone was I
could see that being dangerous.
Yeah, it was super dangerous.
But you're out there, and any wave could kill anybody at any moment. It's so big.
Yeah, I was actually surprised there was more than one boat out there because Rob Brown has a really fast power cat.
Okay.
So he can kind of zip in and out. Okay. But the big 45-foot or 60-foot boats can't do that. And so if a Rogue Set comes, you're in trouble. And on the second trip to Cortez, the Oceanside 95, I think it was, from Helgren's.
Okay. Yep.
They actually rode a wave. They got caught on a big Rogue Set, and Joey or whoever was captaining turned towards shore and started driving, and the wave came and picked them up, and they started to broach. A 95-foot boat with people on it was broaching, and it was going to capsize, and luckily it went into deep water and it faded out. So, it didn't capsize, but I don't know if he got a write-up. I have no problem with it. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But there were some guys that were pissed.
Well, I mean, I can see why. But I can see both sides.
Yeah.
But there's no video or nothing of this stuff, right?
There might be some
Really?
stills or videos. Yeah.
that'd be
Because there
cool.
was a couple of other boats.
Wow.
I think there might be stills. I have some stills of the boat being there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't capture it.
Yeah.
Because I was driving photographers and I was doing water safety.
Okay.
So I was picking guys up that were in trouble, and then I was driving.
Wow. What is your headspace? Are you out there? Like, I have a job to do. Are you out there because this is entertaining and fun?
No, I have a job to do, but I actually got Aaron Shank's permission on the first trip.
Okay.
After we were out there for a couple hours, everybody came in at the same time for a lunch break.
Yeah.
I went back out on my ski by myself, which was a stupid thing to do.
Was it?
Yeah, because the swell had picked up.
Oh.
And on, I think, the first or second wave, I got caught from behind in like a giant whitewater avalanche and almost lost the ski and, got some tooth adjustments on the handlebars.
Your poor teeth.
Yeah.
It seems like you keep getting it. Anything else about the? I mean, I'm sure there's multiple stories.
It's the dreamiest spot. The watercolor is so clear. 100 miles out, the water's clear.
Right. These are long period north swells, right?
Yeah, and the wave is like a pyramid.
Okay.
It's so thick and so big. It's more like a liquid pyramid. The slope, let's say the face is 60 feet. The slope might be 120 feet. So in other words, the slope that the surfer has to travel is twice the height.
Yeah.
And it's moving.
So it's below sea level.
Yeah. And the ground speed is tremendous. I was shocked that I got caught from behind on a jet ski.
Wow.
So that's a fast moving wave.
Yeah. This is all north swell. Now, how's it do out there on a south swell? I heard.
Actually, well, you know what? I don't know firsthand. I've tried to go out there on a south, but I talked to one boat captain at S&M, and he told me a mystical story that got me excited because said he was out there fishing with a fishing charter on a south swell, a 20-foot plus Tahitian south, and he said it was peeling like a machine and glassy. So I'm like, what? I'll go out there in the summer.
Yeah. A little warmer
The
water.
hardest thing is finding somebody who wants to take $1 million or a $300,000 boat out in 60-foot surf.
Right. Okay.
Very, very few guys want to do that.
They're going to want to document and make a movie or something. That's the only way to do it.
They want money and insurance and this and that.
That's true, too.
I was the Marine coordinator for the Billabong Odyssey movie.
Yes.
And so my job was to organize jet skis around the world.
Yeah.
And boats. And I had a hard time getting boats for Cortez because guys wanted to do it, but they didn't want to risk their boat.
Yeah. Okay.
Luckily, Clisby did.
Did Clisby surf?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think the first trip he actually sent something happened and he had to work and he sent John Walla.
Okay.
I can't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
John Walla might have captained. I can't remember if Gary was on that trip or not because I've done other trips to the Channel Islands with Gary and Todos and all.
What's your favorite wave to traditional surf? What's your favorite wave to surf?
Well, it would be Hanalei Bay or J Bay, but I don't get to go there very often.
Okay.
I like warm water jetty.
Oh, really?
Lot. Yeah.
Okay.
And North Jetty.
Was warm water better back in the day or is it good now?
It seemed like the jetties had a better formed sandbar in the old days.
Yeah.
Since they've decommissioned the plant, they've changed the jetties.
They pulled a little finger jetty out.
Yeah, I actually put a lock on the gate. We used to run on the jetty. There's a gate that surrounds the jetties. Yeah. But what we used to do is I had a padlock with a combination, and the locals knew the combo, and we would run out on the jetty and jump in the water at warm water. Yeah. And if you weren't locals, they had to paddle out in the current.
Interesting. All right. And then now, what's your favorite wave on a ski?
On a ski, it would maybe be Nelscott or Cortez because you've got huge canvas.
Yeah.
And you've got so much you can do And I like the clear water, the glassy conditions, the size. The peaks, like I said, you can go either way. At Nelscott, you can go right or left. And the same at Cortez. Depending on where you take off, you can go right or left.
Wow.
The one thing I did learn at Cortez is don't ever take the second or third wave of the set.
Really? Why?
The waves that size, when the lip hits, it turbulates the water and the foam balls
so
and the white water.
Not catching it?
For a jet ski and surfboard, you're just cavitating. You know, there's no blue water. You know, the second wave of the set, the white water is just so turbulated that it's unstable. In fact, I've got a picture downstairs. I had to jump over the boil. I took off. It was Big Wednesday, the year Gerlach won the double XL, the Billabong double XL for biggest toe in. I took a wave, and right as I started to pull up, I realized I'm going to have to go straight because the boil's in front of me. So I actually bunny hopped the boil on the face of the wave, and I had to land it, and the lip was right behind me. So it blew up and went over and covered. You know, I actually got blasted.
Wow.
But Rob Brown got it on still.
Wow. What an amazing life you've lived. Full of adventure.
And it was all accidental.
Was it all accidental?
Yeah, I was just having fun. And then, you know, years later, you realize, hey, you're pioneering things.
You've totally pioneered things.
You know, I had no idea when I saw the jet skis in 72 that it was going to become what it is now.
Has anyone ever approached you to be like, you are like the godfather of this whole movement?
Well, I'm kind of a loner, and I've kind of gone back in reclusion. So I've never really marketed myself or
that's true.
done any of that stuff. So I got close. I was going to help the ASP with, you know, getting sponsors, and I did help Billabong get sponsored through Yamaha to get some skis for the Billabong Odyssey, because it was a film project that took a while. I don't know, for whatever reasons, I just figured I'll get a real job and just kind of keep a low profile. I'm not nearly as much of a people person as Wes is.
Well, I don't know about that. You're a very nice guy, easy to talk to. Is my opinion of you. Well, we all know kind of what the state of surfing is. It's grown.
Yeah.
The pro surfing, blah, blah. What is the state of like Sea-Doos and
the jet ski thing has kind of been harmed by Big Gov, you know, the
regulations?
I'll give you one example. A place like Lake Tahoe will say, we're going to ban jet skis because they're two-stroke. Then the manufacturers tool up and spend billions making four-stroke, clean-burning, quiet skis, and they're still banned. You know, I mean, you can ride them in certain places, but basically the governments have banned personal watercraft at a lot of places where they shouldn't be banned because they're needed for life-saving.
There you go.
So I'd say professional jet skiing is kind of in a low, you know, how everything goes in cycles. And it's partly because of $5-6 gas. The bad vibes, you know, from certain environmental groups, the government regulation, the expense, because it's a mechanical device. The expense of jet skis is astronomical. Well, I learned the hard way. In fact, I went through the same learning curve in racing jet skis as I was too poor to race, because in racing, it's about money. You know, money equals speed because you can buy horsepower.
True.
And I had friends that were great mechanics. I had some sponsors, and I did well in stock classes. Like I raced a class called Stock 550, where all the skis are supposed to be equal. You know, they're stock out of the showroom floor. Guys were still cheating.
I'm sure.
But they were close enough where if we were in the surf, I could win because it was skill.
Right. And so a lot of these guys weren't surfing properly.
Skill over horsepower in the surf, where on flat water, horsepower can overtake skill.
Wow. Is there anything we're missing here, Randy?
A couple million things, but we'll do another one. I want to talk about things on the next one, like the contest, the cult contest, like the Stone Steps contest. Where people were surfing nude. There was a band on the beach and kegs on the beach with no permit.
And I think I talked to David Nueva about that, maybe.
Jeff Devine actually has black and white photos of the Stone Steps contest.
So are none of this stuff released? Does this all go into a book one day? Like,
I hope so, because in
there's a
the
lot of history.
70s, this was full on hippie action.
This is the Donald Takayama.
Yeah.
Where they
Takayama lived at Stone Steps.
Right. So they get kegs and stuff on the beach.
Kegs on the beach, bands on the beach.
How rad is that?
Swimsuit optional.
So 70s was a better time to live, it sounds like. A lot more fun.
For sure. There was nude women. Think about it. You've got kegs on the beach and a band on the beach with no permit.
Were people dying at this point, or are they just having fun?
No, they were having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The hardest thing was you had to drink a quart resin bucket of beer at the beginning of the heat. Your heat starts on the beach. And so if you drink beer slowly, you're going to have a short heat. And if you spill any beer, you get to drink 2 quarts.
No way.
Yeah.
That's the best.
So some guys had to drink 2 quarts before their first heat.
So how silly did it get?
Crazy. There was a guy wearing seaweed in my heat.
And their ability, being drunk, it's hard to surf. I've tried.
Yeah.
It doesn't
girls
work.
were in men's heats, so it was good.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back and talk more about that. And the 100 other
Thank
things
you,
we're going to talk
Michael.
about.
I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Randy. I'm so stoked. It was so fun. All right, everybody. This is Mike and Randy. We are out of here. Later.
100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You boo on my didgeridoo. They calling me dude. I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. She grabbing a hold of my leggy. They jelly, they Gucci my weddy. The fridge of Giuseppe, the chain is so heavy. She think that I'm charging the Eddie. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. Surf trap, I'm stacking that money. Cash. 4 shots, a red Ferrari. He starts to calling me Dundee. Diamonds are surfing McFlurry. She want me to teach her to surf. Splash. I'm pulling up, ripping the verse. I'm leaving these kooks in the hearse. They get moved 100 foot on their head, they get work. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop.
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.